Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, coming at you live to talk about episode 12 of season 2 of ClassicaLoid, and I loved this episode. The lore, the ClassicaLoid lore, was rife, calling back on the birth of Wagner, Wakun, and Dvorak, Dobochan. When they first came out of those sort of containers, and I thought it was absolutely mind blowing. There are 6 more containers that have not yet been opened. Could that be 6 more ClassicaLoids that we could see in time at some point? I don't know, but that excites the ever-loving hell out of me, if it's possible, because Wakun and Dovachan, they were held in a different room to where all the other ClassicaLoids were. But we find that Baksama was told about this, and because of the botched status of Wagner, he could not perform music. He could not summon that forth, that power. He was kind of useless, and he overheard this, Mitsuru talking about this, and that's what led him to leave. He and Dvorak, Dovachan traveled the world, seeking some footing, planning eventually, someday, we're going to arc back, no pun intended, and we're going to unleash a revolution of sound, and we're going to do one better than Baksama. And it was just friggin' mind-blowing seeing Wagner go up against Bach and then wipe the floor with him. I figured Bach would wipe the floor with Wagner, who would hand him his ass. Instead, Bach had his ass handed to him. He had his music usurped by Wagner. Wagner stole his music. It was phenomenal, and like, I was cringing, and I was on the edge of my seat, and I'm like, oh my goodness. The twists and turns and everything that just happened, it was insane. And of course, Wagner is now just letting the power consume him. He has put Salty Klasky on indefinite leave, and he's taken the top spot. I forget all the words he strung along, but that all amounts to the name Wagner. He's going to be this new pop idol sensation, this super idol. He's got the cape and all, the flowing cape and all. And, of course, Bada and Tchaikov, they've gone back to, the manor house, and they're complaining and griping, and his last sort of smack upside the head to the both of them is, you want to be my backup singers? So thorough disrespect. Maybe Dobo-chan is going to side with the other ClassicaLoids. Maybe he'll be a threat to Wagner's full potential, reaching his full potential. That was the impression I got, that Dobo's not fully on board with all of this, or at least, it could be sort of dissension in the ranks where, like, he feels like he should have a more important part to play alongside Wagner, and he's kind of just like, well, wait a minute, where do I come into play? Where's my revolution? How am I part of this? Like, maybe Doe was looking at Wagner like he's just biding his time, waiting to make a move against Wagner so he can be the top guy, or in this case, the top hippo. I don't know. But I loved this episode. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of it, if you've seen it as well. And, it was just spectacular with the ClassicaLoid lore, calling back on the birth of Wagner, a little more insight on his life, and calling back on the original Richard Wagner, the original composer, through the flashbacks a little bit, to kind of see what his motivations were, and how this new life, this new ClassicaLoid life, there are aspects to it that are part and parcel with his life of old, and it all speaks to where his mind is at. And he finally summons forth, he finally is brought about to the rage and the anger and the full-fledged emotions of successfully, summoning forth his own music, which usurps the power of Baksama's. Could he usurp the power of all of their musics? Could he siphon all of the musics of all of the ClassicaLoids out of them and sort of depower them? Which is compelling and scary as all hell. Which I have to admit, when the other leg finally drops toward the end of the episode and he goes back and he apologizes to Chimera and Kanai, Mom, sis, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I gave you this impression all along, and it wasn't necessarily fully true, even though, I consider your dad, your husband, my father, my creator, and, by extension, sort of a family. I can't stay here anymore. I have a job to do, and I'm going to go do it. And even though it's like something on a revolutionary scale that's shooting for the stars, it's shooting way beyond what Boxama accomplished, or very nearly accomplished in season 1. And that's kind of mind blowing. And I also had, I snorted out loud because you have Chimera being like, oh, well, that makes sense now, because I really couldn't remember ever giving birth to you. And Kanai's like, huh? Oh, gee, you couldn't remember that, could you, Chimera? You couldn't remember giving birth to him, but you just accepted him as your son, dingbat. And yeah, otherwise, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.